Everyone, this is super authentic broadcast right here. David, why don't you go back to where we just were and do that again? Go back to the live video. Maybe we're going to have David Thorpe in a second.
Yeah, you will. I see it.
Okay. Yes.
My camera's still not on, though, for some reason.
Yeah, we can work that out. That's a smaller problem. Hi, everyone. Thanks for riding with us through this adventure. So while David gets his camera on, I think the format of this is going to be roughly, we're just for an hour, during which time hammer away with the questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to them all. We might not, but we would like to, and it could be fun. And while David's getting his camera on, I'm just going to
try, and it won't let me. I don't know why it's not coming on. Yeah, every time I do a Zoom meeting, which I had one yesterday, it really screws everything up for me. But it's showing my camera that I want to use. Here we go.
Hey, look, everyone, we did it. I'm proud of us. You feeling good? You feeling ready?
Busy. A lot of stuff going on.
All right. So despite the notion that this is like a broad NBA preview, I just want to talk about the Blazers the whole time. Is that okay with you?
Definitely not.
All right. Can we just start? We should do a little play-in. Heat, Hornets. That's the first game tonight, 7:30. Everything's on Amazon. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. I didn't realize it was all on Amazon. I probably should have, because I did see the TV schedule, but I wasn't paying that close attention.
Yeah, all 6 games of the play-in are on Amazon, which is really upsetting to a lot of people. But I'm thinking, like, I get it. I to me, like, the NBA isn't sure if it's an ad-supported model or a subscription-based model. The Amazon one is a subscription test, and the only way you sell subscriptions is if it's annoying not to have a subscription. Otherwise, you're not in the game. So to me, I'm like, okay, they made it annoying. Now we'll see if they get subscriptions.
I mean, who doesn't? This is 2026. This is how we take entertainment now. It's, yesterday I had to, we have Hulu in my family. I don't know who signed up for Hulu, but I think it was one of our kids who are adults now, and I'm sure they're happy that dad pays for it, which is fine. And I just don't like commercials. And Hulu is an ad-based unless you pay up. So I finally just said, what for the extra few dollars a month, I don't want to see any commercials at all.
Wow.
And so this is just a pain in the assery of modern entertainment, whatever.
But you're going to get both. You're going to pay for Amazon and you're going to get ads. That's the magic of the NBA.
For Amazon, yeah.
It's going to be riddled with ads. It's
That's true. Yeah.
More ads than basketball, and you're going to pay for it.
But there'll be a lot of good games coming.
Yeah. Okay. So there'll
be a lot of bad games too.
There'll be some bad games. And so actually, I guess, and right here at the play-in tournament this year, maybe other years we have felt differently. Maybe there were some contenders hiding in the play-in tournament, but this year I think almost everyone seems to agree. The Heat, Hornets, Blazers, Suns, Clippers, Warriors, 76ers, Magic. Nobody's like combined 0% odds of winning the championship, which hurts me a little as a Blazers fan. But do you agree?
Well, I would agree in, barring crazy catastrophic injuries, but that does not mean we're not going to see some scintillating play from one of these teams potentially going into the playoffs beyond round one. Miami has, proved what they can do, and they're facing the team that we think is most likely to, really cause a ruckus in Charlotte. One of those teams. I mean, if you're the 1 seed, I don't know who you'd rather play, Miami or Charlotte, or was that the 2? What number are they?
Whoever wins tonight will play against the 2nd seed.
Yeah, so they're not. Yeah, so Boston. Whoever. Yeah. So I mean, Charlotte's clearly the better team. Miami has. This is the annual Miami Heat play-in event. Last year they got murdered in the first round by Cleveland, but in years before it made some noise and got to the finals even one year. I don't think they were a play-in team that year. Maybe they were. It all is a blank now. My age. but still, they can cause damage.
I
So
know there's been 5 years of play-ins total, and the Heat have been in it 4 times. So they're
yeah,
almost always in
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. Listen, if they had not done so well in the playoffs, I think we'd see a more a drastic change by Miami. But clearly, it's they figured something out. Well, even though if we don't win well in the regular season, we've been able to make good playoff runs, which is really what you're hoping to do.
They're not though. I mean, with respect, like I watched them a couple times in the last week. I'm like,
Not this year. Yeah.
"Oof, that's
No,
not
no, no.
like."
I agree.
So to
Yeah.
me, like I think the NBA has done a semi-smart thing here where they're taking also ran teams and turning them into the whole nation of basketball fans anyway watches, which is good programming, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what the NCAA tournament just waxes the NBA in ratings by taking like you're not watching Valparaiso, like nobody cares. But then because of the format, you do watch Valparaiso, right? And this is what they're doing here. They're taking these are the also rans, right? This year, these are really also ran teams, and they're turning them into must-watch TV, which is clever. But they didn't quite go all the way, right? It's not really win or go home. That's what makes the NCAA tournament so exciting. Is this is like explain these rules to a non-basketball fan, and then you're gonna
Well,
talk for an hour. Well,
and
you gotta
nine,
go. If you don't win this one, then you go. And then let's the winner of this one, and this. And like,
well, 9-10 is make or break.
yeah, once eventually we get there, we do.
Right.
Yep.
Well, the 9-10 game right now is make or break.
Yeah.
7 or 8 is win and you're in. The other team still can win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely not so cut and dried. But I don't think it's hard to follow. But still, Charlotte, of all the teams, you got Steph Curry in the West, and you've got, the Hornets look like a legit team that had a bad start, which is another thing I like about the play in is you have hope. I mean, let's face it, in years past, in some cases, that team might just start tanking in January. What a shame that would have been
Yeah.
because this team is fun to watch now. And win or lose, this will be good reference points for this group going forward in Charlotte anyway. I'm not sure Philly's learning anything from this. Although good experience for BJ and not really Maxi too much, but BJ for sure. Some of the young guys just it's a different vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. So a few things I noticed. One is, the Suns are a much better team since they traded Kevin Durant and went young and got a bunch of scrappy dudes. They're simply better, which is interesting. And number two, I think they have a dynamic that a lot of rebuilding teams have, which is a smart approach. But a lot of the good defenders they've unearthed, which is to their credit, right? They have a lot of them. They really do. But a lot of those players are very bad on offense. And so it's a little bit of this like hoping they put the pieces together, right? Like it's a smart way to go. Like, like I know the rebuilding 76ers back in the days of Hinkie did the same thing where you put these players who are elite at one thing on the court and just hope that they pick up the other skills. But I don't have it in front of me, but if you go look at the Suns' top defensive players in EPM, like almost none of them, I mean, Dylan Brooks is an exception, but almost none of them are positive on offense, which creates a little bit of like a crap, right? Like you can't be elite on defense and scoring well. What else do you like that?
Well, I see it. I don't see these players as commodities. They are living, breathing, fluid,
Of course.
players, right? That uh, I don't know those guys are good defensive players in a vacuum. I know they're good in that system. Credit the coaching staff for creating a system to allow those guys to look like they're good defensive players, and they got to do the same thing now on offense. Now, offense requires more skills, but we could easily look at it from a different perspective, which is, let's say they're doing really well on offense. It's not because they're good offensive players, period, necessarily. They're good in that offense. We see guys change teams and do great or do terribly because it's not so cut and dry. There is a fluidity and there is a context that I think really matters. So, I mean, listen to your point about old versus young with KD, which I think is a great point. Something you've always said, Henry. Teams make a mistake. I thought of you the other day, actually. Teams make the mistake of adding the veteran old guy, and when they probably should be going for young and have to teach, right? And so I'm not going to say the teams that can't, but a very good team typically that's hoping to contend next year thinks Chris Middleton might be an answer at small forward. And I thought of you, and then I put my head down, like, no, not the
Let it
answer.
go. Let it
Not the
go.
answer. Yeah, you're better off
Yeah,
finding a 23-year-old or having
absolutely.
a 23-year-old and working with him and figuring out how they or 4 of them and see
Yeah,
if 1 or 2 will work. I don't
yeah.
think Middleton is the answer. And so but anyway, to your point on Phoenix, I like the idea of Bill. I think it's hard to get good offensive players to really want to guard. And, if you can as I always look at the kind of the stepping stone, show me a guy as a young player who really buys into our defensive, um, methodology and also has the disposition to defend. Let's get him to do it, and then let's build his offense out. But at the very least, we'll be in games if we can really guard. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, if somebody has to carry the ball, carry the offensive load. Uh, and they have Booker. I think they probably feel like it's not going to be enough to get them far. This is where Charlotte's so interesting. They started really guarding,
Mhm,
and they offense isn't their problem.
mhm,
They've got really talented offensive players. It just took them a while to figure it out for
mhm.
lots of reasons, potentially young guys being part of it. Um, yeah, I don't think there's other teams in the West though. I don't think the teams in the West have much of a chance when they get out of the play-in. Whereas I've already written this with you. I do think Charlotte is going to be a not an easy. It's going to be a 6 or 7 game series, probably. You never really know, and I want to get into that a little bit. The nuances of the playoffs is something that we'll talk about. So
Okay, lay it on me. Why so
well,
you're sure the Sharks will make it out of the play-in for starters?
I'm not sure of
Yeah,
anything in 1 game,
okay, yeah.
right? Foul trouble. I saw the other day. I mean, Cooper Flag twisted his ankle. I've seen a few players just on a freak play, and then maybe they're out the rest of the game. Like you don't really know in any 1 game, but
Mhm,
which is exactly what the point is of why we're doing this. And to your when you parallel it to the NCAA tournament, like Iowa beat Florida. Florida was, I think, maybe the best team in the country along with Michigan. Michigan won. Florida was out in the second round because Iowa shot great and then held on and hit a three at the buzzer. This is the nature of this business, right? So if you go back and watch a lot of the playoff games, which I've done over the course of this season, it's amazing how many games seem like they were over, and I don't mean
mhm,
just Pacers games, or just something crazy happened at the end, and we had spectacular finishes. We'll see what happens this year. Like that's not the best team doesn't always win. They don't always win the game. They don't always win the series. And just remember, first game two, game one, round two last year, Pacers miraculous comeback over Cleveland in Cleveland. And you're thinking, all right, plenty of teams have lost their first game in a series. Well, that the Cleveland Net went on to win 1 game of the next four, and they're out. The Knicks also miracle. Remember the Tyrese choke hit the top of the rim. Don Nelson went in, and then it turned out his foot was on the line. Knicks end up dropping the game in overtime, and they're losing 6. So those were upsets.
mhm,
I
mhm.
don't know who's the best candidate for an upset. We can talk about it, but to me, that's fun. Like that's the fun of the part of the playoffs is nothing's guaranteed.
It is, but it's not like so the most popular sports in the world are professional soccer and NFL football,
You
and they're
don't even
both
have to explain that, by the way.
way more random than a 7-game NBA playoff series.
Oh yeah,
So, like, to me, it's like that we do have some topsy-turviness, some, like, underdogs, but pretty much by the time we get to conference finals, like, they're gonna be the teams that we thought they were gonna be most years, right? It's not a very
certainly
random
typically.
sport. Yeah.
Certainly, typically, and Miami's proved to be a little different. I thought Indiana was the second best team, as it turned out in the league last year. They were not going in; they were a 4 seed because they had a bad start. I don't really care much what happens at the beginning of the season, other than it does affect seeding. But yeah, we have upsets. We know that, but definitely less or fewer. We
Yeah.
also have a lot of parity too. There's a lot of really good teams. I don't. Would you be shocked, Henry? Shocked if OKC doesn't make it to the NBA Finals, as
I
opposed
mean
to surprised?
I think you were aggressive in saying that they're 54% likely to win the championship this year, which
Yeah,
means that you who's, like, heavy on the Thunder here, as would I be, even you're suggesting they're 46%
right,
not gonna win, right?
right.
So, yeah, they're they're heavy favorites compared to every other team, but they're not heavy favorites compared to the field. It's a toss-up compared to the field.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is this. So in any 1 game series, I don't think they'd be very different.
Yeah.
That would be for some of the teams, but yeah, it's just I try to look at it this way, Henry. I'm preparing myself to see a lot of really amazing basketball with a whole bunch of fuck ups. Shit's gonna happen, man. I tell this player all the time to young players, Henry. I don't remember the plays anymore in particular, maybe one, but there was a period of time when you and I were at ESPN, and I'm covering the players very closely, and CP3 was at the height of his point guard powers. And he had a couple major mental mistakes, not just
Mhm.
physical mistakes, to lose games. And he was the point guard, like
Mhm.
it's hard. Stuff
Yeah.
happens, man. And I know that's going to happen too. There's going to be some car wrecks and some really fast cars going forward too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a Blazers fan, they lead the league in turnovers, and let's say you wanna dig into it, like, "Oh, who's all these young players turning the ball over, must be Scoot's fault." It's like, no, it's Drew Holiday and Denny Avdia. Like,
Yeah,
they're the ones
right.
who are turning it over, like, it happens. Um, so I think I might have a little bit of a hot take, as someone who has spent a lot of time. I'm lucky enough that I spend a lot of time learning from you, listening to you, we talk a lot, and then I've also been editing you and kind of marinating. It was a chance to kind of like sit again in your feelings. And one of the teams so I think you have the Thunder at 54% likely to win, and then the next two candidates are the Nuggets and the Celtics, who are both I think at 13%.
Yeah.
Um, significant. That's a significant percentage. And as I've prepped for this talk and marinated in some stuff, like I think I'm I don't think the Nuggets are that good. Is basically where I am. And I know you're gonna talk in a second and tell me why I'm wrong, but I will tell you that, messing around on, in the advanced stats, they have 2 terrible defenders who they have to play, um, which is Tim Hardaway Jr. and, who the hell is the other one? Anyway, give me a second. And they have a terrible offensive player in Bruce Brown. And so to me, I think like it's a little bit Nikola Jokic and a roster that they have admirably held together with duct tape. But and they're the worst defensive team. That once the playoffs begin, they will be the worst regular season defensive team in the playoffs. And I know there's an argument that they can like turn it on, but historically, the turning it on thing doesn't happen very much. It's hard to turn it on from that crappy. Um, and so to me, I feel like maybe, you're going to tell me why I'm wrong, but to me, I feel like it's much more likely to me that um, some other team emerges rather than that one.
Well, to take your second part, the other team will be the Spurs.
That would be
I, I,
one candidate for sure.
I have a bias that probably needs to be ripped away about teams that young,
Yeah.
winning it. But they certainly, if you had to script out a team that could prove the adage of experience is so valuable wrong, it will be a team that has that dude at center.
Yeah.
He's just that, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, LeBron, they all have these um, amazing resumes where they just prove to be better than most people would have expected at their age. Wemby is in that, and he's going to be one of the best players ever, we all think. So
Yeah.
getting back to Denver, though, Peyton Watson being
Jamal
out.
Murray, by the way, is the other
Yeah,
crappy quarterback in Denver. Yeah.
I didn't say it, but yeah,
Just 51 years old,
yeah,
and that's just how it goes
right.
sometimes. Yeah.
I think that Watson being out matters. They need Denver. Denver does need him and Aaron Gordon both. And I don't know when. We don't know this. We don't know when he's coming back or if he's coming back. There was a period of time this year where Denver was playing great defense. The problem is, I think it was mostly at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they'll experiment more, which can work in possessions. And at those possessions where it works before the other team figures it out could lead to a 1 point win or 2 point win because they bought themselves some time. They definitely have work cut out for them. I think Jokic, uh, being a great leader, also being crazy smart, wicked smart. He's gonna he's gonna make an impact defensively more than you think. Um, I don't think you're stupid for what you're saying. That's for sure. It just we're betting on Wemby and a bunch of young guys. They finished the season pretty strong. I think they won 10 in a row or something late. That matters. Like some of the teams were tanking teams, but some were. The Spurs tried to beat them. It took a miraculous Jokic shot, not miraculous, for him, for the rest of the humanity, it was. And I think he's just the best problem solver. I mean, Shea's right there with him. I think Jokic, yeah, to just mark them out would be wrong, but they do. We'll see early on if they can. I don't think it's about turning it on. What you said is right. That's how everyone sees it. If you remember, you and I did a podcast with David Griffin, and we asked him about the Cleveland run. It might have been during COVID. And he said that Tyronn Lue took over the defense in the postseason 2 years in a row when he didn't do it in the regular season. And that change of voices and maybe change in strategy too, I don't remember. I mean, they won a championship and they lost in the finals one. So that'd be interesting to see if I don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be David Adelman giving that up and taking it back or giving it up because he was doing it. But they clearly have to recognize we can't enter the playoffs as is defensively and expect to get through this gauntlet. So we're going to have to make some changes. That could be great in the sense of the other team's not prepared for it, but it also necessarily means there'll be more mistakes made by the defenders who are trying to execute a strategy they've not been doing a lot of. That matters. When you haven't practiced it much, remember, in the NBA, games are practice outside of this small little window here, and they do know who they're playing first round, which is good. But I often look at it, the playoffs, Henry, as, but if they can survive round one, it's really meaningful. Not to every team, but to this team, they get through Minnesota. They're going to have some swagger. They're going to have to figure some things out. Minnesota's back-to-back Western Conference final appearances. That could really make a difference. And hopefully at that point, Watson would be back if he hasn't already returned. But maybe I'm too high on the 13%. I get where you're coming from.
I think I just feel like, so what you just described is all, look, you've been doing this a long time and your predictions have an excellent track record. And I would not be at all surprised if Denver does exactly as you described, but that is kind of duct tape, right? Like they might have a better coaching strategy. They might have a different determination. They might get this guy back from injury. Whereas like for the Spurs to win, I think they really would need, guys who don't shoot super well to shoot a little better.
Or guys that have been shooting better continue to do it in the playoffs because they did shoot better.
Yeah.
Dylan Harper's really coming on. Steph Castle finished strong.
Dylan Harper's really fun to watch. He's really fun to watch.
I saw him in person in Vegas a year ago. Yeah. He's better than I thought he was going to be as a rookie. Helps have Wemby's gravity for sure. Steph Castle started making shots more. It's just a different animal in the playoffs. Always has been. But, there is something about the exuberance of youth combined with the naivete of just not recognizing. I remember talking to a guy who won a championship in last decade and never went back. Had not gone back when I had spoken to him about it. And he was a young guy when they first went to the title finals. And he's like, we'll be doing this every year. No. And so experienced guys are they're better able to recognize how rare it is to be able to play for a championship or even just win a series. It's really hard to win a series. I made this mistake when I was a much younger man helping guys in the playoffs. It's just got to get 4 wins, got to 4 wins. Oh, what a mistake that is. So I learned from baseball with my son. I think I've told the story once before, many years ago probably, where his team, we're in the All-Star Championships against a team that had, I think 2 major league player prospects now, but this was when they were 11 years old. And we thought we'd get swiped, killed. Max was great. And I don't remember anymore, but I think it was like 12-1 or 12-2 when Max came out. We were winning. Last inning, he's out of pitches. I made the mistake. We just lost our last out. Our team's taking the field for the top of the inning, the final inning. And we have all former professional baseball players except for one coaching. So these guys all really know what they're doing. I don't. And I yell through the dugout like, all right, guys, 3 more outs. The look on these coaches' faces. And I didn't know what I said wrong. Meanwhile, I've been coaching baseball for a long time at that point, but not with this kind of pressure. And they said, 1 out. We're looking for 1 out. And, that was great. That was great. And that also informed how I look at these playoffs.
Too bad these baseball players can't count. You know what I mean?
I kind of defend myself at first. Like what I was trying to say is it's only 3, but no, this was 1 out at a time.
Do the thing in front of you.
Right. So, I I feel the same about the playoffs, and I had 13 guys in the playoffs last year. I'm not so fortunate this year, although I have more time, which is nice. It's just win this game. Find
Yeah.
a way to win this game. There's lots of things going on, and that's the better way to approach it for sure.
But this is a look. That's all true. And actually, I see Paul's comment here saying like we haven't seen Wemby do it in the postseason, and feels like the greats go through a learning curve first. Like that's generally true, but it's balanced against athleticism. Fucking matters in this game, and you get
Yeah,
really beat up in this league.
yeah.
And we had all of these conversations about the Thunder last year. All of them. Everybody said all of this last year about the Thunder, and guess what? They did pretty well, right? Like,
Well, but they lost the year before in 6 games in round two when they were also favored. I actually don't remember anymore if they were favored the year before that. It's a long time ago, Henry. Right? They lost in 6 games the year before to Minnesota, was it?
we are had no pop quiz franchise. I don't know if you recall. You're welcome to delve into like being your own personal basketball friends, but I'm not playing that game. Like a bunch of shit happened, and then we got here, and now we're looking forward.
Right. But so to your point, though, to your point, Henry, OKC getting through Denver series and winning Game 7. Who knows what happens if Aaron Gordon gets hurt? But this is what happens. And maybe JW gets hurt this year. We'll see how they do. I do think it helped them with Game 7 down at halftime against the Pacers. Of course, Tyrese was out, but still, they could have lost his third quarter. Instead, they murdered the third quarter, and the game was pretty much over. All if it wasn't kill you, it gets you stronger, kind of thing. In the playoffs, I don't think it's so cut and dried as that. I don't think it's so absolute as that, but it does help. The Wemby is one of those guys that just might be. I mean, he's one of the best ever already. He's going to be unanimous defensive player of the year, I think. Uh, that 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 really goes to another thing I was going to say about Wemby, which is about learning curve. You don't you don't need much of a learning curve, Henry, to make dunks. The learning curve for him should be to dominate the paint and not only or solely, but to be mindful of I'm going to make these motherfuckers constantly have to deal with me in the paint. If he just wants to shoot on threes, that's a mistake. If he just wants to live in the perimeter to prove, that's a mistake. And we do see this sometimes, not just in playoffs, but just in basketball in general. Young guys will tend to want to prove something. We just need to win this possession, and then let's go win the next possession. And so if he asserts himself, and the easy way to do it, if I was coaching them, man, I'd be playing a whole bunch of Game 6 playoffs with Giannis against Phoenix up 3-2, where I think he scored 50 in the last game, and just we could not be stopped in the paint. The whole series changed when he started living in the paint. That would be a good thing for Wemby to see because he really is hard to guard there too.
Yeah.
And don't just prove anything else. We'll see how he does. It wouldn't surprise me if he learned faster than others.
But there's a lot that goes into kicking ass in the playoffs, and I think it's a myth that a requirement is having kicked ass in the playoffs before.
Well, for sure,
Right?
dude.
Like, and one of the things is like running fast, jumping high, like shooting well, all of these things that make basketball teams, that make the Spurs a way better team than the Nuggets in the regular season. Like those things are real. And they were real about the Thunder last year, which is why I was like, the Thunder are going to win. They're the heavy favorites, even though, a lot of people thought they didn't have this particular box checked of playoff experience. And so to me, like, the playoff experience is one nice thing to have, but I get the, cleaning the glass email every day. I'm sure you do too with like who
Nope.
overperformed last night. It's based on an algorithm, but just says like, who, and this is not the most sophisticated analysis in the world, but basically it's like who did better than they usually do last
Right.
night, a little synopsis. And I'm just here to tell you that if you get that, I'll get it all through the playoffs, all the way into June. And those names every day will not be veterans. Some of them will be, but a lot of them will be youngsters. Like there'll be a bunch of nights over these playoffs. Like remember when like young Donovan Mitchell in Utah just like exploded? Like these
Yeah.
things happen too, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, like I think you have to balance your love of not you, but like in general, the idea that like, oh, well, only after he faced the Pistons did Michael Jordan know how to win. It's like, no, he knew how to win before. He just didn't win, right? Like I would say, like you usually don't win. It's a 1 out of 30 game, but the best basketball players often win, and sometimes they're young, right? Which is, I think you have to balance that against this idea that I think we like because maybe we're a little older, not you and me, but in general, like older people love the idea. It's like, oh, well, only after you've done this for decades are you any good at it. And it's like, well, sometimes those youngsters are pretty freaking good at it.
Yeah, I think that I think there's a thread that we wanted to weave through,
Yeah.
which is there's so many variables.
Yeah.
Experience alone isn't good enough, and neither is athleticism. There's so many things that have to go right. Resiliency, grit, these things really matter. One of maybe my favorite memory, I have a lot from last year, but maybe my favorite one is when Minnesota just destroyed OKC. Tell me if I'm wrong. It might have been game 3. So first game in Minnesota, OKC's up 2-0, and Shea Gilgeous is on the bench and just kind of reminding everyone it's just a game.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
handled it so
He's such a
maturely.
cool dude. I want to be my
Yeah,
neighbor. I just want to
right,
like, I don't need my best friend, but I'd like to just like weigh in on like how the fence line should go. I think you'd be very reasonable about that, you know?
yeah, right, right. And I'll contrast that with some players that I've talked to in the playoffs whose best player or one of their best players were a panicky kind of guy.
Mm,
I I prefer the Shea version, but also he has been through a lot of playoff games, even to that point. He
yeah.
hadn't been to the finals yet, but he had learned that necessarily what just happened can have no relevance on our next game. As a Laker fan growing up because of Magic, and I like Jerry West and the color purple, so I was a Laker fan. Um, the Monday night or Monday day massacre against Boston, but the Lakers won that series.
Mhm.
They got destroyed in game 1, just 1 game,
Mhm.
right? I had a meeting yesterday. I told you, one of the top players in the country under the age of 18 is joining our group for high school players. Very, very talented. Maybe could be a first pick in the draft kind of guy. And I gave that speech yesterday of you got to get off the roller coaster. Am I ranked number 1? Am I ranked number 2 or 3? And no, let's find joy in the merry-go-round.
Mhm.
The drama would just drip off your body like water.
Mhm.
If you just focus on day to day, what's my routine? I'm going to enjoy the ups, but not so crazy where I'm going to have to suffer the downs. And I feel like Shea very much embodies that, as does Jokic normally, as did LeBron normally. The world's best players. That's part of where that experience really manifests itself is in recognizing the great. You've heard Tom Hanks talk about the best lesson he's learned. This too shall pass. Have you heard him give this speech?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so. There was like an actors roundtable, and I don't remember the prompt, but it was something along the lines of like the best advice you would give your younger self or younger actors. And he said, "This too shall pass. You can't get a break. You can't get an acting gig. This too shall pass. You're on that top of the mountain, and you're winning Oscars, whatever. This too shall pass. Oh,
Mhm.
that's so good, right?
Mhm.
Players deal with this every day, much more so than actors. Because every shot missed is a public failure. Actors
Mhm.
get many takes. We never see the takes until the outtakes, which only come out if the movie's successful, right? Or the TV show's successful.
And even
Then we
then,
see
they're
what happened.
edited to be hilarious. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
In basketball, especially in the age of gambling, where everyone is gambling on everything, every failure is magnified. And you have to take that approach that we always call next play mentality, next possession mentality. But you have to, saying it's one thing, seeing it by your teammates, especially someone like Shea, really matters. And I think to your point too, you don't have to be 27 to have experience. They're like Steph Castle won a championship at Connecticut.
Mhm.
There are reference points in managing emotions. I think about this all the time as a 61-year-old. I may look 70, but I'm just 61. But still, it's hard to say
You
this
don't
out
look
loud.
70.
61.
Look at all that
So,
hair. Come
right,
on.
right. Well, I got lucky with genes. I watch these college guys. I watched last week the NCAA championship, and I see them on the world's biggest stage. But they were boys just a few years ago playing AAU or playing pick up with their buddies, whatever. That they're not that far removed from those times. Neither are a lot of these guys.
Mhm.
They're playing the game they love. There's so much drama involved in it. The ability to lock in on executing, and you'll love this too. You wrote a great article years ago about like our best soldiers, whether it was
Mhm.
SEAL team or six or whatever it was. Uh, it's so similar to loving, right? Loving your teammates, being there for them being there for you, and surviving through each moment that gets you through. And I think if I had to credit OKC for any one thing beyond Shea's talent and the ability of the team to develop and all of that, it's whoever helped them start celebrating post-game shows together, which is
Mhm.
becoming more of a thing now throughout the landscape. I love that. I just feel like they learn to be together through the good times and that they practice now of being there for each other, which helps them get through any rough spots, which they had a few this year. They weren't very rough compared up. It wasn't tough sandpaper, but it was something. They weren't winning every game. And I think that helps them a lot. I think Denver's gone through it a lot too with some of their guys, but not everybody. Right. Some of these guys weren't there when they won that championship. They're gone. Michael Porter Jr. being more obvious one.
Right, right. Um, yeah, one thing that like so I was like lucky enough to be in the room when Michael Jordan they made his Hall of Fame acceptance speech,
Yeah.
and
Kevin Martin was there.
it's so kooky. But
Yeah.
mostly it was clear. He's like basically he made big promises he was going to come back at 50. Like what the fuck are you talking about?
Did he
Like
really?
like yeah. He's like it was so dumb. Um, but um, but it seemed to me mostly how angry he was really what I took away. And I think that's like that is one way to motivate yourself, right? Like
Yeah. For sure.
he was motivated by anger. I don't think and maybe every player is a little bit, right? Somebody talks some shit to you or hurts you or, throws you to the floor or whatever. I can see that anybody, maybe everybody gets angry for moments of this like highly kinetic game. But mostly compared to other top teams, it seems to me the Thunder are less angry, right? There's a little bit every now and again Shea will like make a bucket and then he'll do like a little thing with his arm where he's kind of um like he's shooting a gun, maybe. I don't think so. But like, but anyway, he seems kind of like, oh, fuck yeah, I showed you, right? Like, but mostly he's that guy you were talking about in Minnesota who's like, hey, you know, we're taking the long view here, right?
Yeah.
And it makes me think a little bit about, I've talked many times about relationship versus transaction. And it seems like he's saying, we're going to have a relationship with the game, right? We're going to work long term on this game and we're going to generally get a lot out of it. But did we lose this one today or this one on social media or this one little thing? Like, like that's not what we're doing, right? Is what you're saying about the merry-go-round of this high schooler, right? Is like we're gonna have this like decades long relationship with basketball, and let's just focus on making that really super strong. And one day, one little interaction, whatever, man.
Right. I talked to one of the best players in the world last year about playoff basketball. And I just wanted to get this guy had won championships and everything else. And I was trying to get insight from him. And he said, when you lose in the playoffs, everybody has an opinion.
Hmm.
He's like, he literally said these words to me. There are two-way players in the locker room, basically opining with
Hmm.
vociferously their opinion on what we need to do. And he called me for some guidance on it. And so the first thing I said to him, I said, what are you saying? He's like, I'll be drowned out. I said, no, you know when to command the room.
Hmm.
So at some point, use your big boy voice. Exactly what I said, and end all of that. You have to have the clear-minded focus of we're listening to a few guys and our head coach, whatever the coaches are working. Everyone else, shut your fucking mouth.
Hmm.
This is the playoffs, and not everyone has a voice here. And so when I think of Shea, and I know I've got players that have played on the Thunder, whatever. I don't think he has to say it like the way I just said it, but I think everyone has to know their place. When things are going great, we all can celebrate. Tomorrow we lock back in. When things
Hmm.
aren't going great, look to your leaders. Listen, we talked to this. You're a dad of two, just like me, boy, girl. We wanted our kids to speak up. My wife and I had a plan about this. That when they're young, we have to be 100. I said we have to win 100% of the arguments when they're really young, because any time we give in to them might be their death. They're fucking stupid. They're 2 years old. So if we say don't eat that, if there's no exceptions, like don't cross the road, there's no exceptions. But I said when they start getting into middle school or even elementary school, if we want to go in the haunted mansion, oh, trust us, it's safe. And they were scared of the haunted mansion. I said to my wife, we need to respect that, because that same internal fear of that is what may keep them from trying cocaine for the first time. It's a gut instinct. We
Mhm.
need to teach that, guide that, shape that. I feel like the best playoff teams really do that with their leaders. Everyone has when it's time to speak up, when it's time to close your mouth and just listen. Because you just like any good chef would tell you, right? You can't all figure out this best recipe while we're making the recipe.
Mhm.
Speak up when we're coming up with a design.
Mhm.
But once we're in, my daughter is managing banquets and stuff. She just did a prom the other night. She's 24 years old, and she didn't get her senior prom because of COVID, but it was just 6 years ago. And
Mhm.
she's got 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds working for her. And we've talked about this. Like in the planning stages, I said, best idea wins. But once you're in execution, there's got to be a chain of command, or it's just crazy. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean someone can't speak up. The waiter that only shows up once a week because they only need it once a week may have a really important insight. They can't just be going to the top. Go to
Mhm.
your next in line. There's a process here, right? I
Mhm.
feel like the best teams really have that laid out. That doesn't mean they don't make mistakes, but they can adjust and correct those mistakes. Let's get
You
back to how we do it.
You're making me wanna tell a silly story, which is I think from the book Loose Balls, which there are 2 books named Loose Balls, and I think it's either one's by Terry Pluto and one's by
I
Jason
have that
Lee.
in my right here, right behind me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Well, maybe you know the story, but there's like, at some point, there's a team meeting, and the players they've been losing, and the players are upset, and so players who don't usually talk are now talking in the team meeting, and one guy stands up and writes on the board, "Know your role," but he writes N-O, your role. Know your role. And so then like, some veteran is like, reads it and is like, "Sit down, dumbass."
That's awesome. Right.
And I
Right.
feel a little bit like, because of our enlightened parenting in this house, like, "Sit down, dumbass," is a little bit of a thing that we say sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, man. Actually, your buddy Steve Shenbaum taught me the phrase that I think I said it today, which is, he came and talked to the
Laugh
whole
with,
staff.
not at.
No, that's too easy.
A good
So
one
he
though.
he came in and talked to our big group at ESPN. So there's 60,
Yeah.
70 people there.
Oh, yeah.
And he sensed, because he's a wizard, that
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
tension in the room because some people made a lot of money and some people made not a lot of money. And there was a lot of anxiety about how you get from one group to the other. And he pulled me aside in the hallway and he was like, "Look, you got to deal with these young people that are really stressed about what they should do to get into the cool club." And he's like, "And what you should tell them is earn the right to be heard."
Yeah.
And I think that's like, as soon as he said it, it was perfect. Like, I still feel that every day. It's like everybody wants to, you know, everybody loves the idea of changing the world with their voice, whether they write it or say it or whatever. But if they don't know who you are, it doesn't matter what you say. Like, you have to just kind of grind at it. And it's going to be years of being underheard.
Yeah.
Right. But then at some point you're like, "Hey, that guy's pretty smart."
Yeah. It goes to building trust, and really matters in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because everything is so heightened. There's so much more
Yeah.
drama, and the consequences are so significant. And at every single game, which means every single possession, how you deal with that. If the coaches see that you really care, that helps. If you really care and you play with urgency and you still suck, well, you just can't
Yeah.
play. Not in this game. We're trying to win this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but if you can make corrections, then you're going to get other chances at some point. If I remember right, Ty Jerome had an amazing season last year. He's really an amazing offensive player.
Mhm.
Whoa, was he bad against the Pacers?
Mhm.
And he was out of the rotation until game 7. I'm sorry, game 5, when I think they had some injuries and they were getting murdered. And but he just couldn't do it. You gotta you can't you don't have to problem solve immediately,
Mhm.
but you're gonna get a lot of chances in the playoff. This is all part of the dynamics of the playoffs that's different than the regular season. And
Yep.
so, going back to your initial point on Denver, these first few games, which won't even start this weekend against Minnesota, I think it's going to see a lot. I don't think care if they win by 1, but if they're just able to problem solve and come up with defensive stops. Remember, Denver, I wrote this. Did we publish that article yet?
When you say that article,
The contenders I just did, not contenders, the playoff series I just
yeah.
wrote about.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was this morning. Yep.
So Denver really, they're going to let Anthony Edwards shoot a bunch of threes.
Yep.
Oh, and he likes to shoot a bunch of threes.
Yeah.
Only if Utah, I think it was, that he shoot more threes versus a team in the West.
Yep.
Doesn't mean he'll make them. And the reason why Denver doesn't mind it is if he misses them, we're good.
Yep.
If he's attacking defenders, it's a real problem for Denver, I think. So let's see how Denver handles that if Anthony Edwards is shooting well can they show on him and still help at the rim, whatever. We the Thunder last year just had the most outs. The Pacers had the second most outs, and they made it to the. They had this incredible Game 7 finals because of it. Randy is asking, should he bet on the Knicks? I don't know what he means betting.
I was about to say we have a bunch of good questions and Randy's. That's like
I don't know what I don't know what he wants to bet his house on. Is he
No.
betting on Cat winning the opening tip? I don't bet on anything, but you can bet on everything now.
Yeah.
To win the championship,
No.
I wouldn't recommend betting
Mm-mm.
a Monopoly house on the Knicks. But the playoff runs are a living, breathing entity of itself, where teams can kind of take on a new aura and find some strides that maybe they had never seen during the season or hadn't seen in a while. Denver is finishing strong. Let's see how they do it. OKC could be upset, probably not in round 1, game 1, but I think they have shown we can figure this out. We're going to be fine. And our leadership really handles it from Sam Presti and Mark Dagnode on down.
So I'm impressed. We used 47 minutes to get logged on and then talk theory. Let me just and we have good questions we should get to. Let me just do a quick speed round where I'm going to ask you to say a sentence or two about each series that we know of. The Knicks and the Hawks.
I mean, I think these are toss-ups. I think Atlanta absolutely could win the series. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has had just talk about a guy that changed systems and blew up. He's probably the poster child for it.
Yeah.
Nice 3-and-D dude from Minnesota. Fantastic, all-star level guard now for Atlanta, especially as the year went on. And I think they have multiple guys that guard. But I mean, Madison Square Garden game, I could see a game 7 there. Atlanta's still kind of a new team with CJ only getting there in January, February. I think it's an amazing series. I would give the Knicks a very slight edge.
Cavaliers, Raptors.
I think Cleveland's much better. Thomas Bryant, I think, comes back pretty early. He's an important backup center for them, especially against a team like Toronto that hits the glass and really gets out in transition, forces turnovers. Donovan and James have to really handle the ball with strength, and I think that they're if they can make Toronto be a half-court offensive team, Cleveland can beat them up pretty good. That doesn't mean they will be able to, but I will say this: seeing Scotty Barnes in the playoffs makes me very happy.
Yeah,
he just plays so hard, and I'll just leave you this one thought on Scotty because we'll go on the other ones. I was talking to an agent yesterday who does not represent him about. He was talking to one of the best NBA scouts that's out there, just guy that had seen everyone starting in high school, and there were 3 players that he just gushed about more than any 3 players he ever heard. It was Ben Simmons and Cade Cunningham and Scotty Barnes, and then Cooper much, much later. There's 5-6 years difference, but just incredible, incredible players. So I'm glad to see Scotty make it, but I don't think they'll last very long.
Yeah. They beat the Cavaliers 3 times, but it was all in November.
Right. Yeah.
It was literally
Harden wasn't in any of the games.
And the Raptors back then were just a house of fire on defense. They just played so intensely. All right, now we're going to switch to Nuggets Wolves. We've talked about it a little bit, but ultimately, I think you're picking the Nuggets there.
Yeah. I'm not loving Minnesota. They kind of limped at the end. They definitely have to transform. I really think belief matters. I think Ted Lasso was onto something. I just have a hard time believing Minnesota believes. I watched them play recently, and I don't think Chris Finch believes. I think he's frustrated. He has the most annoyed look on his face more than any, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
He does.
They're annoying. I think he's annoyed like crazy, and so I think Denver feels. I mean, getting Peyton Watson back would be huge. I just don't know when he come back, but
yeah,
I just feel like Denver's got something going, and Aaron Gordon being healthy will matter too. And Jamal Murray had a hell of a year. We know he can really do in the playoffs.
Lakers Rockets.
I think I read that Luka's coming back, but I think just as a spectator. He's been in Spain. I don't think he's been playing. Maybe I'm wrong. But without him and Reeves, I don't think it's much of a series at all. I think Houston can beat him up really good.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little thing. Hamstring injuries were a big topic when I was researching Ballistic, and Marcus Elliott of P3 has strong feelings about hamstring injuries. And his points were interesting. One of them is that you can have one. You can have one significant hamstring injury and return to super elite competition. He's but it's very hard to have 2.
Yeah.
and then return to being an elite athlete. So to me, I'm like, that's is a stake here. Like, I could be maybe particularly down on the Lakers, but to me, they're 0% to win even the conference, let alone the championship. So to me, the idea of like risking
Yeah.
Luka's precious hamstring for a 4% better chance of making it to the second round, like, absolutely not to me. It just seems
Yeah.
crazy.
I have a meeting with Marcus tomorrow. I'm very excited about talking to him. Yeah, looking forward to it. But I think your point is this was Luca's first hamstring injury, correct?
I'm not sure about that, but certainly once they get clustered, what happens is, um, your hamstring is very stretchy material, and if you strain it, it's a sign that it didn't stretch enough, right? So you already have a movement pattern that is prone to hamstring problems. We know that because you had one, right? But then on top of that, now where it's been damaged, the tissue gets stiff. That scar tissue is there. It heals, so it's
Yeah.
strong, but it removes a little more elasticity. So now, like, you have to really change how you move so that you don't do it again and again and again. And actually, one other little addendum to that story, just in case anybody listening to this has this hamstring problem, Marcus's other big thing is like, I don't think people do nearly enough like real deal hardcore soft tissue where somebody expert just gets in there and like really grinds on where the scar tissue is, because you can affect the elasticity of the hamstring. As someone who's had that done, I'll tell you, like, not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, I don't want to get sidetracked, but my wife had a massage last week. She said he was a 7'3" man with the biggest, strongest hands, and she
I think the
was
Suns could use him. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't think he's very coordinated, but she
Uh,
said his hands were strong, and she screamed like never before. It was the
yeah.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hamstrings was a big deal. But I have
Yeah.
one more question on the hamstring thing. Tyrese Halliburton struggled with hamstring injuries for a year and a half, and then popped his Achilles. Is there
Yeah.
a correlation?
For sure.
I
Yeah.
thought
So basically, like, when you like most injuries, non-contact injuries come from almost 70+% come from landing, right? And the way you land healthfully is to have your ankles, knees, and hips all compressing in unison.
aligned. Yeah.
Um, Most of us don't, right? Including in the NBA. And so something's a little off. That's the posterior chain, right? So he's not accepting the force of the ground in a great way, it sounds like. And so the extra force is going to the wrong place, in a nutshell. Like, I could talk about this for another hour. And if you want to come to my May 5th, I'm giving that talk at a college nearby. But yeah, I think they would have him into P3 and they would look and they would find that, whether his ankles are stiff or his hips are stiff or something's weak, the fix of the one would also
Well,
ameliorate the other.
my point is, to your point, the Lakers should be well aware that look what
Yeah.
happened to Tyrese. Like we can't have that with Luca.
Yeah, absolutely not. Too valuable. Yeah. Okay, let's look at some questions. Oh, look, Chris Calarco, absolutely loving your book. Thank you, Chris. All right, another Chris Kuntz. Hey, Coach, great seeing you today. How big of a deal is it for the Spurs championship chances to lose the last game, putting Denver on their side of the bracket and away from OKC's side? They sat Wemby and Cornette. It seems likely if they played one of them, they could have won the game. How do the Thunder keep getting these breaks?
Well, I'm not getting into the breaks part of it, but I do think it leads to the discussion I'm hearing the most right now in podcasts and stuff, which is manipulating your
Yeah.
seedings. And I liked what I listened to Stan Van Gundy talk about it. I really hate when teams fuck with that. I understand the business. I totally get all of it, but I'm a coach like Stan, and I think Stan and I are very similar in age. I I I think there's something to telling your team, let's just try to win the games we're going to play. Now, if
Yeah.
we're going to rest guys because they have to rest, I'm for all of that, obviously. But to lose so we can play somebody else in the first round, I don't love that. And I think San Antonio just felt like, let's just play. That's what I think anyway. Um, and yeah, okay. So at the end of the day, you got to play somebody. You got to still beat the teams in front of you. If you start manipulating stuff, other things can happen. I wish we could just play it all straight. And we're going to deal with the tanking issue, maybe in one of our future podcasts. Something has to happen. It's really bad. The way the season ended is an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. And I think the league wants to address it because everyone's talking about it. You just couldn't tune into a lot of games unless you get paid to do it like I do. I have to watch. But it was bad.
Yeah.
And so I just wish our teams would try to win every game they play. I understand that sometimes you have to rest guys. That's fine.
Yeah, that's just the natural state. They had to make rules to make sure everyone doesn't try to win every game they play, right?
Right.
Like you
Yeah.
go to the park, everyone's playing basketball. Like guess what? They're all trying to win. It's so
Right.
easy.
Right.
Just have
Right.
just have a basketball and a hoop. People want to win. That's
Yeah.
all you have to do.
Right.
And they did a bunch of other stuff. Okay. It's a manufactured crisis. Um, Rich is wondering, Coach, do you buy into the narrative that last year's playoffs broke the idea of the game slows down the playoffs a la Pacers? Was that an anomaly, or do we expect this run and gun trend to continue into this year?
So I actually think in years prior, we've noticed more of an uptick than what the general mythology was, if I remember right. Uh, eh, um, that they weren't always going slow. I think a lot depends on just who's playing. If you have a team that normally wants to play slowly and they're making it to the conference finals and the NBA finals, then the game's going to be played more slowly. You can't really make them. You could pick up full court, but they don't have to shoot the ball. They just have to manage the press and delay it. I actually think the more intriguing question is going to be how the refs are going to call it
Mm-hmm.
because the game was rugby outside of not using your hands all season, and we saw this last year in the playoffs too. I generally think we're going to see that again. But I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I just how tight are they going to call these games? Toronto will be better off if they have a very loose whistle against Cleveland because they are very handsy. Philadelphia, I think, even starting tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow against the Magic, maybe very handsy, trying to create turnovers. They have to create something because they're down to one great scorer in Tyrese with Embiid gone,
Mm-hmm.
and which I would favor Orlando in that game. As bad as Orlando's been, Philly's been even worse without Joel. So I do think that fast teams will continue to play fast,
Mm-hmm.
and the slow teams will try to play slowly. I want to see how they call the whistle.
All right. Ben Gelt he's thinking way ahead. If the Nuggets win, will it be the most impressive championship of all time?
Win the championship?
Yeah.
I think the Pistons championship with Larry Brown was the biggest upset title
Mm-hmm.
winner. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no pop quiz. My bad.
Yeah.
I
I feel like we just went through this.
I withdraw the question, Your Honor. But it would be. I'll qualify it. Definitely very surprising, in part because of who you're beating. Mostly the OKC, but team. But they have Jokic. Like when you have that guy, the whole point of the draft is all of it's made up hooey because they're trying to sell a false narrative to your fan base when your team sucks. It'll be, hey, we got the next Jokic coming, but they almost never come. But sometimes they do. Jokic was a second round guy. Wemby really was worth it. I'm not sure Cooper Flag will ever be what Wemby already is. That's how good Wemby is. There's
Mhm.
nothing against Cooper at all. But when you have that one guy, and again, it's not about just drafting him because in the case of OKC, they traded for him. When you can develop one of the two or three best players in the world, I think nothing can be that surprising because they're that good. And there are only five guys on the court at the one time.
It would be. I don't know what their Vegas odds are, but it would probably be one of the longest
I
shots
would think
to
so.
win a championship. Now the rest of the question is like a memory test that I don't really want to engage in. Like
But
who
I
else
think
was a long
I
shot?
want someone to look
But
it up. We can do it next week. I do think it was. Detroit with
yeah,
Chauncey Billups. I think they were just nowhere close to being a favorite. They beat the
that was
Lakers.
so fun. That was a really fun playoff series.
Yeah.
Um, okay, Brandon Holstein has a very interesting question here. How important is sample size in evaluating present impact on the playoffs, i.e., full season EPM versus EPM against other playoff teams versus EPM in the last 20 games, etc.?
I'm not sure I totally understand the whole question. I'll tell you this. I have a hard time, Henry, trusting any one metric anymore. I go back and forth. I've told you this before between cleaning the glass and EPM, dunks and three. It's unbelievably dramatically different a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
A player that looks so good on dunks and threes has a terrible rating on cleaning the glass and vice versa. So what I try to do is and look at everything. Long-term success, short-term success, very recent success. Who are you playing in those games? Like, Toronto has players that have really done marvelously, but only against the bad and even average teams.
Mm-hmm.
Really struggling against the best team. That matters too. I think maybe there'll be an AI tool that can do a great job of putting it all together, but I haven't found that yet. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
Give me
I
your
would
thought.
say so to your question, Brandon, I feel like, the vast those statistics are pretty stable, right? They're not all the same. They're not identical. Like, I know Jalen Williams is very different between cleaning the glass and
There's a few
catching
guys like that.
threes. But like at 80%, I'm gonna guess is pretty much the same, and it's pretty predictive. I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's about 80% where the biggest sample you can get is the most useful prediction. And so if you're predicting someone's going to be playing not like they have been playing, then you're predicting that they're 1 out of 5, which they might be. 1 out of 5 are, right? But I think it's very helpful to understand some other dynamic beyond the numbers in that, right? So this guy was coming off an injury, or they have a different offense now, or he's playing shorter minutes or whatever. I feel like it's not great strategy to predict that someone's just going to be better. Um, Now better, I guess, meaning like they're kind of on a career production curve. So if they're, 22 and they turn 23, they're probably going to be a little better, right? Um, but yeah, to me, I would always predict from the biggest sample you can get, and then acknowledge that,
Yeah.
1 time out of 5, you're going to be completely wrong. That's just
Well,
how it
just
goes.
you can factor on the nuances like injury. I'm reading the comments now.
Yeah.
Ben Gell wasn't talking upset. He was saying that the run of Denver beating Minnesota,
Uh,
Spurs,
uh, uh,
Thunder,
uh, uh,
probably Boston or possibly Pistons.
yeah.
I don't know, Ben. I just, I used to have a brain that managed that kind of stuff well. It's being filled with a lot of other stuff now than those kinds of things. But I certainly can acknowledge, having covered the NBA since '07, there's not many teams that have had to go through that kind of I mean, you're talking about beating Anthony Edwards, Wemby, and Shea, and then Tatum Brown. That's
Piece of
pretty
cake. Yeah. No problem.
it's pretty it'd be very, very impressive. And honestly, I don't root for any of these teams. I root for players only. But boy, I would love Denver. It'd be great for Denver and their coach, and what it would mean to his dad and everything. Yeah. I would not hate Denver winning it.
Okay, I'm scrolling down in the comments and a few personal items here. One is Noah Gluten is here. He's a James Beard award-winning cookbook author, great friend. And I'm such a dumbass that years and years ago, he's a Suns fan. I bet, before I knew Noah, I bet there was a Blazers Suns game, maybe a playoff series, and I bet on the Blazers and he bet on the Suns. Loser had to eat a food of the winner's choice.
Oh, I remember this. I
And I
remember
had
this.
to eat balut, which is a embryonic duck cooked in the shell, and it was one of the worst things I've ever had to do. And because I'm just a sucker, Noah just said yesterday, "Would we like to re-up the bet because the Blazers and Suns are playing
Yeah,
tonight?" And I said, "Yes, of course, let's do that." So that bet's back on. That's stupid. Hi, Noah.
yeah.
Um, then a little lower, Ben Weber. That was my college roommate, and he's saying, "David, your hair looks all caps great."
Oh, thank you. I do work out. Just kidding.
um, let's see. Is there anything else in the comments there? Look, we're roughly on time. If we wrap up pretty soon, is there anything else you want to say, David?
Let's root for a good playing games. The NBA needs some shot of good vibes. I was really embarrassed as a fan, as someone who works in the game. The game's in good hands when it comes to the players. All the other fuckers fucking up. Our players care. I mean, I'm Henry. I'm not kidding. I was going to take this week off, go to the beach with my wife. I haven't seen her as much as she deserves, although she's not complaining. And I just can't, because all my players are so anxious. What's our plan? Like, I mean, I'm not even kidding. It's not even over yet, but some of these guys were shut down. Like, what are we doing? When are we back on the court? Or what am I doing on the court? And their moms and dads, I don't normally deal with, but some of them are talking to the agents like, hey, what's the plan? Like, can I just get a breath here, please? But they're fucking workers, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're sending me. It's adorable. I've got one guy in particular. He sent me his summer schedule. They're on the
Mhm.
playoffs, and he's uses like emojis for, maybe he's going to catch a World Cup game here. He's got a soccer ball, and he's going to play for his national team. And he's got some cool emblems. Like, they're really giving thought to what they're doing. They don't just wake up and go work out. No, there's a plan. They're also coordinating with teams that their own teams, and a coach from their team to come visit him. I got to go to Vegas for summer league, and I've got to do this for team building stuff. There's a lot to it. I just hope the playoffs can honor that which the players are already honoring themselves.
I think we all want the league to be about what you just described, right? This is just pure love of the game stuff, right? Super competitive. Yeah, they're worried about people taking their jobs, but the fact is, you guys, the way David reports to me his relationship with these players, it's super meaningful and it's very much oriented around, just the people who work 10 times harder than anyone else you've ever known at just getting as good as they can possibly be because they want to win games and win championships and win playoff series. And it's exactly what we wished the league would be like. And it is, which I feel protective of. To me, this is why
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, I have colleagues who are like, why is Henry talking about Jeffrey Epstein all the time? Why is he talking about doping? Like, because I want to protect this little pure thing, which is actually at the core of the sport we all love, right? Like, please don't have Leon Black involved in these players' lives, right? Like, please don't have Jeffrey Epstein involved. Like, and so to me, this is the game of media now: is can we protect the game? Can we play our part to keep the game pure enough for those guys to just do what they do?
Yeah, I'll leave with this. I told you this off there a little bit. I had a meeting yesterday with the family of one of the best young players in the world, under 18. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but a potential top 5 pick, top 3 pick, also a potential guy that could do nothing. He's in high school. And I just told them what I do and what we provide. And it was all about impacting winning and setting better screens and caring about rebounding and being a great teammate and what does leadership mean and all these kinds of things. Not about step back three. In fact, I even told them, you don't play in the paint hard enough. You don't race hard enough. I was very upfront with them because they sent me tape on them first. Well, I had access to tape. And I spoke to one of the guys that's like one of his managers I afterwards, and I'm like, he's like, "How did it go?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I just told them whether they want to hear it or not. I just felt like I need to tell them the truth. I didn't want to be. Everyone is a hustler to them. I want to be a truth teller. What
Mhm.
really needs to happen for him to get the most out of this game?" And a few minutes later, I got the voice message. Blown away. When do we get started? And I got the text message this morning from the dad. Not from the dad, from the manager. When do we do this? Because of they are what they haven't been affected yet.
Mhm.
They're not into the limousines, and I mean, I know all
Mhm.
sorts of
Mhm.
stories of high school kids. It's all they get polluted and
Mhm.
disillusioned sometimes,
Mhm.
and but their heart is in. They just want to go play hoop, man. They want to hoop and get better, and they want to interject with teammates and be better leaders. I talked to one of the best players in college who's in the draft, but he might go back to make a fucking fortune, many, many millions. That's how much money's out there. And I asked him, "What are you working on right now?" I gave him the plan, but like, what's your mindset? And he said, "Just really work on trying to be a better leader, trying to
Mm.
inspire the guys." I'm like, none of these guys are teammates. They're all in the draft training. I
Mhm.
want to just inspire them because they'll inspire me. Like, it's just exactly what you want. And we fucking let these oligarchs get in the way and everything else. And we got to get. That's why I love what you do. It's convoluted. It's hard. Only my brother Michael really understands all your Epstein shit. That and Claude.
He's the audience. Yeah, Mike's the audience. I'm going for
Mike,
Mike. Yeah.
it's unbelievable. Like, he didn't even he didn't listen to all of your podcasts that we did with that guy. He's
Millions
like, I read
already.
all
Yeah.
Henry stuff. It's all in his brain already. He doesn't need to hear it again. I need to hear it again. He
Yeah.
gets it.
I need to hear it again, honestly, sometimes. I'm like, "What did I write about that thing?" Anyway, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us. I guess we're gonna try to do this weekly through the playoffs.
Yep.
If we were more organized, better planners, we would just fix a time. Do you wanna do that? Do you wanna just say we'll do it at whatever the
I,
hell?
I, I would love to do that without the pressure of having to do it right now.
Okay.
Let's look at our
Okay.
calendars and see. But I also think we need to be a little more flexible based on the gameplay. Like, we don't want to do
Yeah.
it before a or before a game 5. If we can do it before a game 7, that kind of thing. I'd rather
Okay.
be flexible, but I'm open to whatever your thoughts. We can listen to other people give us opinions too.
Yeah, if you guys have strong feelings about what also, like, well, I don't understand work anymore. There are traffic jams at, like, 2 p.m. I work from home, so I know I'm in those traffic jams, but, like, I'm amazed and delighted you people are able to join us at this hour. Like, that's great. Um, I think most of our viewers will be watching it not live. But anyway, if this time's okay, it's great for us. There you go. All right. Thank you very much. Super fun.
Take care.